All right, there we go. I think this thing is on. Hey guys. What am I doing today? Um, citrus, right? Citrus. Well, I've got actually a tray of fig in front of me. I'm doing fig cuttings, but in the middle, I've got how I do citrus, and this is dirty. I'm not gonna say things that most gardeners and people who make videos say. I'm just telling you guys how I do it. I've been doing this for so many years. Sometimes I don't know what videos to make because I don't know what people know and don't. But right now I'm doing citrus cuttings, and what I mean by I'm not going to say what most gardeners say or people who own greenhouses, the industry. I'm going to tell you how I do it. I'm going to tell you that I'm the type of person that I listen to what people say, and then I go do things my own way. And I use a little common sense. And I tend to find ways that work better for me and my objectives. And so, this is just a video for doing quick and dirty citrus cuttings. I don't even know what I'm looking at, to be honest with you. I got a bag of donated cuttings, and I forgot there's actually some avocado cutting in there that I got to do, and they're Haas, so I got to graft those guys. So I've got to do that. But there's some citrus cuttings that got donated. But before I open the bag and look in there, because I don't even know what I'm looking at, this is what I'm doing for my cuttings. I do have trays and humidity trays and covers, and sometimes I'll use that stuff. But when I'm in a hurry and I've got hundreds of cuttings to do, I utilize some of the common sense and the practices that I incorporate. So I'm just this is what I get my water in, or what I used to. I'm doing something different for water. And I believe in recycling on a personal level. I do not believe in recycling on a mass scale. It obviously has not worked. It's never going to work that I know of. So when I buy things I shouldn't buy, plastic, from industries that are making things that should not make them, oil, I don't throw it in the recycling bin and hope somebody else recycles it. A lot of times they don't. So anyway, outside of that, it's just, for me, it's a lifestyle thing. I try to incorporate everything that I have available to me to do the things that are more sustainable and more, permaculture in my life and recycling. After I'm done with this might become I might cut the top and put tools in it, or nuts and bolts or nails, or make it a planter. So I'll carry these as long as I can. I find this cheap plastic, it doesn't break down so well. But anyway, I don't know if it's cheap plastic. I'm not going to spend any more time with that. So this is what I have. I have the bottle. There are rocks and sand on the base of it. You can see the whole bottom, about 1.5 to 2 inches, are rock and sand. That's going to be your aquifer. That's what holds the water. That's going to keep this whole thing moist. When I'm in a hurry, I don't have time to go back and open the humidity tray and mist in there, the humidity cover, and cover it back up and check on it and all that. I need to plant this and forget it. And in a planter this size, I can get about 10 cuttings in there. Let them root. Give it a good 1.5 to 2 months, and I'm gonna come back and take them out and plant them. The soil that's in here, this soil came out of a bag, Nature's Way. I'm not trying to promote any soil companies, but the soil I like, I don't have any problems with anaerobes and fruit flies and stuff like that. I like to stick with brands that work well, that are largely neutral. They don't have any fertilizer in it, no Miracle Grow, none of that crap. I'm a natural grower. I have no interest in the sodiums in the fertilizer bags. So, but then the rocks are here from the property, and the reason why mainly is because I want that microbiology, right? The dormant microbiology. I want this moisture layer where I'm growing, plants that I'm going to grow here on this property. I want this soil to be dominated, this soil food web dominated by the bacteria that thrive where I'm planting, not the bacteria that thrive where the soil bag came from. And that's why I want it neutral. In terms of a soil that isn't really, there's not really much in here. It's dirt, dirt and peat moss, and there are microbes in there. I guarantee there's bacteria. Some of the companies sterilize the soil, some don't. That's too much information in terms of trying to call them and find out what they do. I just want to make sure that I have a soil that I'm using. It's creating a soil food web that works well out here. So having a good percentage of it coming from the property is important, because whatever's in here that's like tropical or, from another environment, it's not going to do well anyway. It's going to eventually die off, but I want a good start. So I'm using the sand and the rocks from the property. If I had more composting here, but I don't, because it just started, I would actually use some compost in here. I said that because I don't sterilize my tools. There you go. I used to do that because I used to watch the videos. Make sure you're working in a sterile environment. And in my perspective, that actually is meaningful when you got soil problems, when you got, different types of microbes and anaerobes that are anaerobic that cause problems when you do your cuttings. I find I've never had a problem with that. I mean, I'll say that maybe I notice a slight, increase in percentage if you have clean tools. If you are doing cuttings on sick plants and your tools are in sick soil, then you're going to have disease causers on your tools. If you're working in a production greenhouse, yeah, I would probably have a procedure for people to sterilize the tools, but I'm not, so I don't really care about 98% productivity. 82 works perfectly fine for me with what I got to do and the time that it takes. But I mean, of course, the tool is not, it's not horrible. And these are scissors. They're not garden pruners. You don't need garden pruners. It's a piece of steel, okay? Steel that's sharp, that makes a good cut. So let's see what we got. Citrus cutting, very simple. Some do well, some don't do well. Obviously, there are too many leaves. I'm taking a look at it. The lower branch. Can you see that? Okay, lower branch I don't want. That's too low down. That'll be in the rooting area. These cuttings were from a few days ago, so I'm going to take about an inch off. Side slice like that. Expose the cambium layer. That's going to get in some rooting hormone. I don't whine and cry about the rooting hormone. I try to get as much as I can out of my citrus cuttings because you'd be surprised. Like even this little 4-inch branch actually will make a plant, a tree. So I think I'm actually going to use that as the top. So I'm just picking and choosing what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this off. That's going to be one right there. There's going to be another one right there. And then the top right there. The real challenge is getting it down in here, right? Again, I try to do it quick and dirty. Sometimes when I got like multiple branching that won't fit in there, I'll cut the top off and I'll, have tape it back on. But I'm doing this for speed. This is not going fast because I'm explaining it. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this little angle here because it's going to be harder to get down into the bottle. Take your cutting. I always go 1 slice, 2, sometimes 3. Expose the cambium layer. If you can see that clear, I don't know. There you go. The cambium layer is the green, right? Once you get down to white, it's no good. You want as much green exposed as possible. I get my rooting hormone. There's a whole methodology with different makers of rooting hormone and different numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I stay in the middle. I go with 3. Why? Because 3 is working for my avocados. It works for my citrus. I've never had problems with it. When you get to some of your soft, new growth, yeah, you might have some issues. But for what I'm doing, number 3 works great. I'm not going to show you the name of the company. Don't really care. It's powder. Stick it in. Not too much. Just get it on there. Was that going to focus? That's not going to focus. All right. Well, not too much. Don't think about it too much. Take the bottle. Stick it in. I get my, where are my tongs at? Somebody's touching my tongs. I love that. There's nobody around for like multiple miles. So I'll use the scissors right now for the sake of finishing this video. I have tongs that you can grab the cutting and push it down further in. All you need to do is just grab the cutting and push it down into the soil, just like that. You want to get it down in far enough so that the leaves are inside of the bottle. And as long as you have 2 or 3 leaves, that's all you need. Ooh, don't break them. See, these cuttings are drying out. That is bad. She may not make it. Or she might. I don't know. I need my tongs. That is going to be better if I grab my tongs. So I might pause the video. Ooh, Oh, look, it's got a pause button. Okay, I actually found them. I was making excuses. I was going to come back and tell you why I couldn't find them. Living off grid is a trip, but so once again, you need to do things that work for you. I'm still building my setup, and I don't have tons of time to play gardener. I do this because I love doing it, and I'm doing it because I got to get things started for next year for what I'm going to get in the ground when I actually get tons of mulch here. So I was just going to use my hands instead of my my tongs. A little disorganized. I'm just starting to put shelves up and getting things where they're supposed to go. That's why my kitchen behind me looks like that. What are we doing? Right. So one thing that I noticed, which is, why I'm kind of doing this raw. It's not like a setup that you'd find doing dirty citrus cuttings or just raw citrus cuttings. Because I'm experiencing problems, and that's telling me things I want to tell you. So I lost one leaf. There are 2 leaves. I mean, that's enough, from what I've seen, but I don't want to lose any more leaves, right? I've done cuttings with no leaves and they've come back. And to kind of explain that's because all plants are different, right? They all got different genetics. They all have different tolerances. We call them all, lemon, lime, orange, whatever, but they are all they all have different genetics. They have different tolerances. And in my opinion, which, I lean heavily towards Elaine Ingham, and, she's a soil microbiologist, and nature knows what it's doing. Nature's not a fool. These plants have certain genetics for a reason. It's part of why I'm not being too sterile, right? Weak plants I want to die. I don't want to sell or give away a plant that is weak that needs to die. There you go. There's a good reason not to clean your tools. It's a good reason not to use anaerobic tools, but it's a good reason not to clean your tools. So anyway, I've noticed the problem is that one leaf fell off. It fell off real easy. That tells me these cuttings are drying out, which is me. I need to hurry and finish the video. They've probably been sitting in the bag too long. So I'm going to be a little more gentle with this guy, getting him down in. There you go. She's in. Done. That's it. And all I want to do, I'll do one more, and then I'm going to get off of here because I have to, I've got hundreds of cuttings to do. So here's the next branch. I'm just trying to determine what I want. I usually want a stem that's at least 7 inches if you can. The longer you get them, for the most part, the faster they're going to root. So see the lower leaf down here on the bottom, this guy, she's got to go. She's too low, right? I want that to all be beneath the soil. The first branch might start here, but I think that's kind of too low, and I might get a few cuttings out of that. Take those guys off. I like that stem. This first branching is okay. So in my experience, I like leaves on multiple branches if I can. Because if you lose a whole branch, you're going to lose those leaves. And so I'm going to do something like this and see how that works out. See, you see these little cuttings right here, the little piece of leaves? That actually is all the plant needs to do photosynthesis. So if things dry out, in which they don't, when I put the top on this, which is why I do it with bottles that are sealed that completely hold the moisture for a few weeks, these little leaves will keep the plant going and help it root. I've had cuttings that sometimes, it take a little longer. I've had cuttings sometimes that won't root for 3 months, but then it roots and we're good to go. So taking a look at this branch here's, this actually, I might actually be able to get a plant out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off right there. And we're going to run with that. I need to take off a little of that. So if you notice, I did the same thing there. I've got a full leaf here, which I don't want. I'm going to take half of that off about. And that's it. I think that's more enough. So it's not really about having 3 leaves. It's about you kind of, doing it a few times and getting an idea of what succeeds based on the variety you're doing, based on your soil, your methodologies and all of that, and so sometimes I'll leave, 3 leaves that are cut in half, depending on the size of the leaf. It's a leaf surface area thing. Sometimes I've got about 8 here, which is fine. Look at the bottom. I'm going to slice it up to get rid of the dry part, expose the cambium. Because how skinny this branch is, I'm only going to do 2 slices on the side of it. Like I said, you'll come up with your own process, but it's important for you to learn. And that's why, like I said, I listen to what people say, and I listen to what the gardeners say. I listen to what the industry says, the standard. I listen to what the soil microbiologist says. I use a little common sense. I think about my life, what I got to do, and my urgency, as well as things that will take too much time and not produce enough efficiency, and I do it my way. So there you go. There's another cutting. Dip her in the rooting hormone. I just tap it on the side, get a little bit on there. Don't need tons. You know, all you're doing is getting a little bit of the hormone. The plant has the hormones that it needs to create roots in the cambium layer. This is protecting it from microbes in the soil to a degree. If you got good soil, you don't actually have to use rooting hormone, in my experience, based on the things that I grow. So I'm not, a big proponent of telling people they need rooting hormone. I use rooting hormone because I've actually seen significant increase in what takes. Drop her down in there or push it down there. Try to be a little delicate now that I know I'm dealing with cuttings that aren't as fresh as I want them to be. This is why I like tongs. You can get them anywhere. Well, that's not true. You can get them online. I don't know where I got these from, so there you go. She's in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put about 9 more or 8 more in there, even some of the little guys. And once it's done, I'm going to water it real good. Where's my cap? I'll show you this. So I'm going to water it good. I'm not going to do it here on the video because I might just make a mess. And I'm going to poke a hole just above the aquifer. So maybe 1/4 of an inch, which is right here above the aquifer. I'll poke a hole. Or maybe I will do it. Nothing big. There we go. Nothing big, nothing great. All I want is a weeping hole. You see that? So what'll happen is when I water it, the water is going to fill up here, hydrate the soil, but the excess is going to pour out through that hole. So I'll never have a bunch of anaerobic water sitting in there. I never have to rewater these, very rarely. But if I've got some cuttings that just aren't taking, and I can see that, there aren't moisture droplets in here, then I need to rewater, and I'll do that. But that's almost never. Once you put this top on, once you find the top, and you put the top on, there's not going to be much moisture that's going to get out of there. And so what happens is the water will drip down to the aquifer. The sun, the light, it doesn't take a whole lot. It evaporates the water down here, and it hydrates the soil layer, and you'll see water droplets in the morning, moisture, as this cycle begins. And as it cools down at night and the sun goes down, all the water hydrates back into the soil. And that's how you create that cycle. So the plant's literally getting watered just by sitting in it. This is why I like to do these. It's not just recycling, living green, using what you have, being cheap, that too. Frugal is a better word. You're creating a little terrarium, an ecosystem. And that actually is what's watering and keeping the cuttings hydrated. These guys, like I said, they're a little desiccated, so we'll see how well they do. Maybe I'll save this video and I'll just show you the final and which cuttings make it. It's yet to be seen, or I'll do like a playlist and I'll just put all the citrus cuttings in there and do a part 1, part 2. But that's all you got to do. Now I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to go ahead and water. I'm going to go ahead and do these last 8 and water it so I can get on to my figs. And if you got any questions, post them in the comments. I try to get to all of them if I can. But just be quick and dirty, or if you need to be quick and dirty, be quick and dirty. If you need to do it for an industrial reason, then you're going to do that, and you're going to lean towards their standards. I am always listening to everybody, give something a shot, judge the results, and then go with what works in my life. And right now, this is what works really, really well. I don't use this all the time. Sometimes I go a different direction, but I got a lot to do today, or this week. So I really don't have time, for playing humidity, buying the humidity tray and the humidity cover and keeping it moist and putting it on a warming tray and kind of going through all of that. In my experience, a lot of that, depending on what you're doing, and certainly not with citrus, it really isn't that much more of a jumping efficiency. So there you go. That's a quick and dirty citrus cutting. It works for most varieties I do. There's one variety of orange that it was a beast to get propagated from cutting, and I don't grow that variety. That simple. It doesn't like my soil. It doesn't like my methods or whatever. And like I said, when you're growing in a natural way, you understand that there's some plants that don't want to grow in your soil, in your environment, or with your methods, or with the bacteria you have your soil food with. Go with nature, trust nature. Nature knows exactly what it's doing. It's been here for billions of years and maybe trillions. A plant that needs to die is a plant that needs to die. There are no garden pests. There are no so a way. I'm gonna end on this. This was a quote from Elaine Ingham, world famous soil microbiologist. If she disagrees with anything that I say, go with what she says and figure out your own ways. She said there are no garden pests. There are no pests in the garden. Nature has garbage collectors, and they come to collect the garbage. If you're growing a plant in a place it should not be, nature has pests to clean it up so no mammals will ever eat any fruit that comes or leaves that come from that plant, because that plant shouldn't be alive where it is. So there are no garden pests. There's trash that we plant that needs to be reclaimed, and there are bugs that eat it. And that applies to the soil as well. And doing cuttings. If I'm doing a cutting and that plant can't make it in the soil that I have, that cutting shouldn't make it. Because that might be a problem plant that I have to just fight with for the longest time. And I don't want it open air pollinating with my other plants. I need that plant to die. That plant works better as a nitrate in the ground, feeding the other plants, as nature knows, as opposed to crossbreeding with the plants I have, the strong ones, making them weaker. And these are the things that our farmers knew, our ancestors knew from a long time ago. And that's why wars were fought over seeds, because they get that strong variety growing. And this is what the plant breeders know, but it doesn't seem to be that prolific in the gardening community. So I'm not big on cleaning tools. I'm not big on sterilized environments, because I'm not growing sterile plants. I'm not growing plants that are so weak that they need a sterile environment. I'm growing plants that I want to be strong, and I want my family of plants to become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger over their life of being with me. I don't need another job, and growing weak plants literally will become a job for you. So there you go. All right, this is Gerard. I got to get going. You guys have a great day. I love y'all now. I'm out. Bye.